thank you very much for having me here today. I appreciate it. It is always fun to have it's me. Always fun to do a program on a holiday because, yeah, I guess I'll have to plug it in and plug it out myself. Because it's great to see who is really committed to their business, to go the extra mile. It's great to watch all the awards today, and I'm sure that in many ways this is just a small tip of the iceberg as to what continues to make you successful as a company. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity to share one of my most favorite programs, which is called Social Media Sushi, in which we can explore the ways in which great social media can grow your business, give you an opportunity to distinguish yourselves in an ever noisy and crowded marketplace, but also to bring more fun to the process of growing our careers. How many people have already started to use some social media? How many people have, say, a Facebook page? Okay, how many people have a LinkedIn page? How many people have a Twitter account? How many people have no idea what I just said? Cool. How many people have a smartphone? How many people aren't sure that phone is so smart? Good. So what I want to do is I want to talk to you about social media today, but that will range into a lot of other technologies as well. And since I know a lot about this stuff, I don't want to just talk to you about it. I really want it to be a conversation. I want you to take the opportunity to ask questions, whatever level you're at. If you haven't started using it yet, if you have started using it yet, if you're skeptical or confused about something, that's my job here really today. I want to share with you some best practices. I want to share with you some ideas for getting the most out of using these tools. And I also just want to remind everyone that these tools are new. I think what's interesting to me about social media is that we're at a point in technology that is as new as when the first desktop PCs came out. And so while we kind of expect everything to be already refined and all the rules written in social media, the truth is it's really new. And even the best experts know that there are things that are unfolding, that there are best practices, and that since this is a rapidly changing world, even today's best practices can evolve very quickly, and we need to adjust next year. A couple of quick things. If you want to like our Facebook page, that is the page, facebook.com/mfcompany. We continue to put stuff on there every day, so if you want to continue the learning and move a little forward at your own pace after today's program. And also our Twitter account is mfcompany. So if you are tweeting during today's session, just keep in mind that those tweets do appear on the screen live in real time, and I will find you. So, no, I'm just teasing. Also, at no cost whatsoever, we do have a free video of the week, so you can always sign up for the free video, and it's just a quick 2 to 3 minute learner on something else you can do in the world of technology, social, personal growth, etc. And I'll throw that link up there again for you later. So here's the question I want to kind of explore with you here today. How is great social media like the perfect plate of sushi? How many people here have ever eaten sushi? How many people like sushi? Okay, cool. So you know that great sushi isn't just about food, right? Great sushi is as much art as it is nutrition or food. And so what I want to do is I want to start thinking in those terms for a little bit. Because when sushi is great, it's phenomenal. The presentation of it is just as important as the content of it. And while the ingredients are important, it's really a visual medium. And that's the same exact metaphor for social media. So when it's great, it's fantastic. But when art is not great, even when it's only just a little bit not great, then it's really, really bad. And this is poor David after his American tour last year. Apparently he likes McDonald's. Sorry. The problem here is that when it's really bad, it's never really bad just for one person. When it's really bad, that's when you unfortunately go viral. And now it's really bad for hundreds or thousands or millions of people. So we want to make sure that we all create some fine art, if possible, in the world of social. Now, to give you a perspective just on how big this is and how broad this phenomenon is, I'm going to plug in now. And I want to show you a quick video. And this video will give us an opportunity just to quickly sort of get our brains into a space regarding how big a deal social media is. What I want you to do in this video, don't panic if you don't write everything down you see in this video. It's available to you afterwards right on our page. But what I do want you to do is write down any one number or picture that jumps out at you, that surprises you, so that when we come back to the video, we can quickly just cover some of the ideas that are in it. So let me just plug this in again and play a quick video here for you. So let's do this, and this. Talk about the video. What numbers or pictures or ideas in the video that you saw jumped out at you, that you wrote down, that you thought were interesting or surprising? Yes, please, in the back. Oh, that, I think the stat is that Lady Gaga can reach 16 million people. Actually, to tell you the truth, that number's kind of wrong. It's now 34 million people that she can reach by smartphone. She has 34 million Twitter followers that she can reach now. And how much did all that cost her to do? Nothing. That's an amazing marketing opportunity for us, right? Somewhere out there is not 16 million or 32 million, but maybe 160 or 1,600 people that imagine that we could reach at any second, any day, no matter where they are, on the smartphones that they all love, that they're carrying, that they're buying. So it's an important stat for sure. What else did you see? What other numbers or ideas in the video did you see? Yes, please.
The Gen X and the Gen Y increased use.
The Gen X and Gen Y just increased use across the board, but also don't forget there were some baby boomer numbers in there too that are just as important. Baby boomer consumption of social media and video is soaring. It's just unbelievable. I mean, in America, every month, 260 is the average number of YouTube videos that people watch. And by the way, that's not even the largest. Canadians watch almost 290 per person per month. But it's a very big number for us. But across the boards, we're seeing all of the generations really dive into this content. What was the first stat? I don't remember the first stat in the video about Gen Xers.
For texting,
1 in 6.
1 in 6 was the number of minutes on video, but I think that the screen might have gone too quickly. Yeah, 44% of Gen Xers prefer texting over a face-to-face. Anyone have any Gen Xers or Gen Yers at home? Anyone have any young kids under the age of 30 who won't get out of the damn house? A few of them. Oops, bad joke, Ferrara. Okay. You ever try to call them on the phone? It won't work, right? You call, they don't answer. You call, they don't answer. But if you send them a text, yeah, they respond right away. Ironically, they're at the same dinner table with you the whole time. That tells us something. If they won't answer the phone and they know the caller ID, it says Mom, then why are they going to answer the phone when it says 1-800-something? You know, that tells us something really important about a channel that we need to make sure we can open, as well as all of the channels that we have. So sure, I think that these numbers all have some fun play. What else? Any other numbers or pictures or things in the video that you liked?
40% of the people who use iPads make over
40% of the people in the United States who own an iPad make over $100,000 in income. How many people here have a tablet of some kind? Not the one you just took. I mean like one of these tablets. Right. So cool news is that 27 million iPads sold last year alone. All tablets, they sold over 110 million according to Morgan Stanley. But this is a really cool tool for you when you think about your open houses. Right? So now when a buyer walks into the open house, one of the most important things to look for is whether they're carrying an iPad with them. Right? If they're not carrying an iPad, give them a listing sheet and a cookie, send them on their way. Right? Actually, keep the cookie. But if they have a tablet with them, there's your next new best friend. There's sort of a visual indicator of people's ability, perhaps, in economic terms. So there's some good things that we can just see from these stats. Okay, how about one more? Anything else in the video? Yes, please. Oh, that the Pope had 4 or 6 or whatever number of Twitter accounts. So yeah, I think it's 6. And now I'm sure that the Pope is not doing the tweeting himself, right? He probably has some cardinals tweeting for him or something. Oh, hey, actually that works. It's a kind of good joke. Anyways, cardinals are tweeting. But yeah, it is true that the Vatican has had 6 or 8 Twitter accounts for the past 3 or 4 years, and I think that's not surprising though in a lot of ways, right? Because it's a message in a way. Because I think the Pope kind of has similar challenges. The Vatican has similar challenges that we do as well. Right? Nobody's going to his Sunday open houses either, so they have to figure out how to get the message to the customer as opposed to getting the customer to the message. So I want to really explore that with you a little bit. I also want to just bring out one quick issue, which is social networking is just a component of your marketing plan. I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea. It's a new technology. There's lots of cool and interesting things happening, but a marketing strategy takes advantage of as many tools as there are. It's not the only tool. So you'll still be having face-to-face meetings and making phone calls and putting things in the mail and doing strategic print and whatever is necessary to get the message and the job done for our clients and to grow our careers. However, it does seem like this is a huge slice of the pie that is generally significantly less costly than some of the things we do. So I want to just make sure everybody at least has a component, a piece of it in their plan. Whether it's 1% or 50%, or in my case, 90%. I do about 65 events a year, and that is driven almost exclusively through social technologies. And it allows me to target my message, keep my costs low, and continue to grow my career. So now what I want to do is talk about sort of this concept of a plate of sushi with 3 major pieces on it. The 3 major pieces are branding. So how do we use this to brand and build our brand and build people's awareness of us? Prospecting, which is the show me the money piece. Where are the deals in social media? And customer service. Because today, social media is becoming a very prominent customer service channel. It is the way that people like to interact with companies. And it's just a natural outgrowth of what we've done over the years in terms of using the internet to buy things, but now we also want to use it for service. But I do want to introduce a new concept, quick new concept. And that is a change in what I think the future of competition will be like. I think that for all companies, but especially in real estate and sales organizations that deal with complex things like we do, the future of competition isn't just the competitor down the street. It's not just other brokerages and other agents that we're up against. I think what we're up against these days is a competition for attention span. I think that's the real challenge today. Because there are more inputs into everybody than ever before. There are people now, for example, who are pretending to listen to the seminar, but checking their email, or updating their social media, or playing tic-tac-toe, or friends with words with friends, or something, right? There's always a challenge to continuously keep people's attention. What are we going to do when the buyer who's in the car with us is only half listening to what we're saying while checking their Facebook update on their smartphone? What are we going to do when we're at the listing presentation? And everybody's got an iPad, but things are blinking on their iPads that are catching their attention. What are we going to do when there are powerful influences trying to capture the attention of the same customer as us. And those aren't necessarily just other brokers. There are people like Lady Gaga and the Old Spice guy and all of the people who can use technology to capture 30 seconds of their day. Did you ever notice in the technology world that if Apple has an announcement to make, no other technology companies make announcements that day? In fact, they don't announce the day after or the day before either. Because they know that Apple can suck the air out of the room with whatever it has to say. Even if it doesn't have anything new to say, basically, it has that power. Well, this is also true for us. Who's going to read our e-newsletter today if Lady Gaga is tweeting her latest costume? Who's going to watch our marketing video if a more interesting or exciting video is released? So we need to make sure that we are as competitive in terms of attention capturing and attention retention as anyone else. Because I think these are real issues, and they're issues that affect even the most trivial products and services that are out there. So here's a quick example for you. Let me just see if I can get, here we are. How many people have seen the Old Spice Guy commercial? The Old Spice Guy commercial. Okay, because I wasn't sure when I said that everybody had seen it. So let me just get the audio again. I wanted to show you this commercial for a second. If you haven't seen the Old Spice Guy commercial, just so we can quickly talk about the power of attention. And I'm very surprised that so few people have seen it.
Hello, ladies. Look at your man. Now back to me. Now back at your man. Now back to me. Sadly, he isn't me. But if he stopped using lady-scented body wash and switched to Old Spice, he could smell like he's me. Look down. Back up. Where are you? You're on a boat. With the man, your man could smell it. What's in your head? Back at me. I am. It's an oyster with 2 tickets to that thing you love. Look again. The tickets are now diamond. Anything is possible when your man smells like Old Spice and not a lady. I'm on a horse.
Okay, let's just talk about that for a second. So, what is he selling in the video? Old Spice, right? I mean, but what is Old Spice in this case? It's body wash, right? It's a $4 soap, essentially. That gentleman, by the way, if you use, you still will smell like grandpa, so don't listen to him, all right? But here's what I find so interesting about this, and the interesting need for strong creative today. This is a commercial for body soap that was first released on television. Okay, that makes sense, and it was clever, and you got 30-second spots on TV. However, if you notice in the bottom right-hand corner next to the video, you will notice that people watched it on television, and then 44,486,226 people went online to watch it again. A 30-second commercial about body soap. 44 million people went online to watch again, which, by the way, could be 8 million women who watched it 6 times a piece, but at the end of the day, this tells us something. This tells us 2 important lessons. One, strong creative brings in the eyeballs. Something interesting and fun and creative will bring attention to you, but more importantly than that, it tells us that the competitors who are fighting for attention for the same people that you and I are fighting for, those competitors are no longer just the mortgage rate of the day, Case Schiller, or the other real estate broker down the street. The future for competition is for anybody who can get the 30 seconds of the customer's attention that you want, and we both can't have it at the same time. And that's where social media is going to help us so much, because it will allow us to fight on that competitive scale. So first I want to start with branding for you. I want to talk a little bit about how the first piece of sushi on our plate is about building people's awareness about us through social channels. Does anyone here follow a brand of some kind on social media, on Facebook or Twitter already? Anyone following, say, an airline? Anyone following a car company? How many people have a Facebook page again, just so I'm clear? Okay, cool. How many people have heard of Facebook? Okay, so what you'll be amazed to know is that branding channels on social are some of the most rapidly grown channels. 53% of all people on Facebook in 2011 were already following a brand. They were following Mercedes or Southwest Airlines or Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola, by the way, has 52 million fans. What would 52 million people need to follow a soda company for online? As we find out what branding is like, we'll start to see that everybody has a channel for that. Now, I think that social media has some really cool opportunities for our brand because modern customers want to live the lifestyle of their brands. We wear brands today in a way that we didn't do 30 years ago. Or even if we did 30 years ago, only a few people could wear certain brands. So I remember growing up where, it was always a challenge between what brand of sneakers we would have when we went to high school. So for my mother, the brand was Sears. And I'm like, but Mom, that's not a brand. That's a scarlet letter is really what that is. But of course, I wanted to wear Nikes or Doc Martens or some other brand. Well, today we all wear brands. We're covered in brands. Prada glasses and Armani suits and Mercedes-Benzes and all the wonderful things we love, not just to display, but to live. We live through these brands. And what's so interesting is that as customers, we want to be part of that brand before we buy it. We want to be part of that brand while we own it. And we want to be part of that brand into the future with it as well. And social allows people to do that. It allows you to create awareness of people long before they need you. During that, that 6-month period that we've been telling you people are searching online for homes, well, why can't they go on that journey with you? Not just with the search engine, but with you. And what happens after you do the deal with them? How will we stay in contact with them for years before their children grow up and become opportunities for us to provide them with service, or between their next purchase? What do they want to hear from us for those 5 or 6 or 4 years in between? Likewise, how do we know what they want? It's real hard to get people to stop and fill out a survey these days, or to spend 15 minutes on the telephone with us, or even have lunch with us anymore. So how do we use social to keep in contact, but also to get input from them on a regular basis, to know what's of concern to them? Because Peter Drucker, the great management guru, used to say, the purpose of marketing is not to talk about your stuff. The purpose of marketing is to know the customer so well that you have the right products and services at the right time, and they virtually sell themselves. What kinds of listings should we take? What kinds of skills do we need as agents? What kind of market opportunities are coming? How do we know how many babies they're having, or how many jobs they're getting, or what places they're interested in? All of that is an input opportunity in social. So I want to teach you how to first do the branding piece. It's not that hard. There's only 3 basic steps. First is to understand that all branding in social media has a voice component, an experience component, and a reaction component. So when people experience you on Facebook, what do they hear? What's the voice? How do they feel about that? What experience do they have? And most of all, the money in branding is to get someone to react. And in social media, that reaction is the share. It's great for you to share something on Facebook with some friends that you have. But the moneymaker is when they share that thing with their friends. That's just a warm introduction to other people. So I'm going to show you some ways in which this is done. First, let's talk about tone of voice. There's all sorts of tones of voice in social media. To date, most professionals have been stuck in the informational tone of voice. Here is a fact, here is a figure, here is a chart, here is some news. And there's nothing wrong with that, except that there are so many other voices of information that we need to make sure that we let the other voices in our head out so that we can continue a broader conversation than to try to be the competitor with CNBC or the competitor with Case Shiller. Rather than competing, we should intersperse other voices. Voices that don't just tell our friends something, but ask our friends questions, or inspire our friends, or suggest to them something fun or interesting. So when you're thinking about social media, the first question you always ask is, what tone of voice am I using this morning? And you cycle through these. It's not either or. You cycle through these. And as you do that, you'll start to find that different tones of voice require different formula. And one of the most important formulas is to understand that you're not advertising in social media. How many people, for example, have ever been to a cocktail party? What kinds of conversations do you have at a cocktail party? By the way, that's the interactive part of the program. What kinds of things do you talk about at a cocktail party? You do talk about real estate, right? But you don't talk about real estate for 4 hours at the cocktail party. What else do you talk about? Kids, clubs, weather, art, science, sports, you name it. And that's the exact same opportunity for conversation and social. Other marketing venues only have a narrow discussion band. So other things we might do can only have information in them, or can only have a question in them. So we can send out an email survey, but we don't include pictures of the Knicks game. Whereas on social media, we can include a picture of the Knicks game that might actually create a reaction from the same people we also wanted to send a survey to. And while we might not think it's important to know what our sphere of influence thinks about the Knicks game, we think that it's important when we're with them at a cocktail party, right? When only we talk about, if we only talk about real estate at a cocktail party, well, think about this. Have you taken a customer to lunch lately? Anyone taken a customer to lunch lately? I don't have any customers. I want you to imagine going to lunch with your best customer. You haven't seen her in 5 weeks, or maybe even longer, maybe 5 months, maybe 5 years. And you sit down for 2 seconds and say, hi, how are you? Great, great. How's everything going? Oh, it's okay, good. Oh, wait, I brought something for you. Want to buy a house? 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 If all we did was immediately and only talk real estate with them, what would that customer do? They'd order their lunch to go. Yeah. So now we have to figure out how we're going to hang on to people for years in between without having them order their lunch to go. And I'll talk about this crazy formula later, but let's just talk about what works best in social. The most important thing that works best in social is visual. Social is, because so much social is done in a smartphone size, we really have to leverage the visual. This is not a place where we can post 500 words or 1,000 words or expect people to get into long, heated conversation back and forth. Now, blogging will still allow us to do that kind of work, but when it comes to Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and Pinterest, folks, it's all about the pretty pictures. And that's the most important but cool thing about us as well. Pictures create momentum. They create an opportunity for someone to immediately understand what you're trying to say to them, and then, of course, they like to react to them, whether they're still pictures, as photos, or videos. Now, that doesn't mean text doesn't work. It just means in the hierarchy of things, more people would rather see a picture with a message than to read a quote, even an interesting quote, even something from Lincoln or Churchill or whoever you happen to like, which is fine. And it also means that at the end of the day, they want to do all the work in the site. They don't want to leave the site to really figure out what you were trying to say. So we find that links in the sites are the least effective, and immediately intuited pictures work the best. So let me show you exactly some examples of how that works. First of all, let me show you an example from a company in Manhattan. This is the Corcoran Group. Has anyone ever heard of the Corcoran Group? Okay, so first thing that's interesting is, how did you hear about the Corcoran Group? Where did you first learn about it? TV. Yeah, TV, and then maybe a lot of audiences I talk to, they only learn about them through social. In fact, as I go all over the country, people learn about the Corcoran Group because, oh yeah, I follow them on Twitter or I follow them on Facebook. But here's an example of what the Corcoran Group did. They said, you know, what do we sell in Manhattan? What we really sell are dreams. People dream about living in Manhattan. Well, how are we going to have a conversation about it that's not just, we have another listing, we have another listing, we have another listing, it's still overpriced, it's still overpriced, it's still overpriced. What are we going to do? So they said, if dream is our theme, let's find some pictures that deal with crazy dreams. So they posted this photo of a yacht that is also an island. And they don't even sell it or represent it. It's just someone else's picture of a yacht that is an island. They said, this week we're encouraging you to dream big. How about your own island that's also a yacht? Now let's take a look at what happened in terms of the results of this. They had 3 different measurements of their attention-grabbing effectiveness. First of all, 91 people said they liked it. So without a lot of effort, 91 people said, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. That's all they said. So they got 2 seconds of 91 people's attention span. They had 21 people who commented, which might have taken 10 seconds of their attention span to do. What I particularly love is the second to last comment from one of Corcoran's largest competitors. The cool thing about that is that if you're taking the time of your competitor who's commenting on your Facebook page, you're really winning. Because in a lot of ways, you're stealing their attention span from competing against you. But I think the real key is right here with this little 44 in the corner. What does the little 44 mean in the corner? Do you remember? Shares. This means that 44 of the people, not necessarily of the 91 who liked it or the 21 who commented about it, but 44, some combination of those and others, thought this was clever enough to pass along to their sphere of influence. That means that Corcoran was introduced to 44 more spheres of influence with a picture of a boat that is a yacht that they can't even sell. And when you think about branding, that's what we want. We want our friends and family and past clients to simply recommend us to their peeps. And that can be done without necessarily having to say, now is the best time to buy in Manhattan, or rates have never been lower since the invention of wood, or any of the kinds of things that we're still trying to catch people's interest with. We do it with what they're interested in, as opposed to interest with. And this works all the time. I'm going to show you some live examples over and over again of simple things that make this happen. So for example, just the other day, we posted a couple of simple things. They don't have to be complicated. They can even be boring. For example, this is a picture of a road, an exit to boring. And so what did I do? I took a picture of it and I simply put, some roads you should just pass by on your way towards your goals. Now let's see, did it have any effect? Well, 11 people thought boring was exciting enough to share. 51 people liked it, and 6, 7, 8 different people were able to comment on it. So at the end of the day, what am I after? Just a few seconds of people's attention span. And I could do it with something boring, believe it or not, but it also could be bizarre. This is another one, right? So not so sure, what say you? This is I guess it's a toiletry, and sorry, but yeah, 41 people shared the toiletry. 41 people shared 70 people liked it, and 64, 65, 66 people commented on it. Did I change the universe that day? No. Did I cause anyone to buy immediately? No. But did I give 100 plus people another reason just to think of me for a few seconds that day? Yes. And that's all I'm after. Because maintaining their attention is hard. How many people have past clients again? How many called 3 of them this morning? How many emailed 3 of them this morning? Okay, cool.
Show off.
Show off. Exactly. One thing ahead of me. That's the challenge. We know that all of our business comes from our past clients and friends and family and sphere of influence, but we get so busy that we can't essentially keep up with them. So what I try to do is just do things that allow me to keep up with them. And by the way, they can be silly, they can be serious. It's not really the question of the content. I'm only after a few seconds of their attention. There's also, for example, the question of, should you post what you're doing? People ask that all the time. Well, should I tell them what I'm doing? That I don't care that they're drinking a martini. I don't care that they're at the baseball game or whatever those things are. I actually have the reverse philosophy. Because it's nice for me to learn what's on their minds, but I desperately care what's on their minds as well. Sometimes it's just to maybe cheer them up. Other times it's to congratulate them on an award or an achievement. And sometimes it's just for fun. And often it's simply an instant moneymaker. So here's an example. This is what I call an example of the breakfast cereal post. What I'm doing now. I'm having oatmeal. Not too long ago, I posted online, all set up for another day of teaching such and such a class. Looking forward to learning with my friends in Kentucky. Well, immediately some people liked it. Pam Shute from Leading RE, my wife, 4 others, that's all fine and well. But check out the first comment. Hey, what's Pivot? Pivot was the name of the class. And I said, hey, Mike, it's our new program in ways real estate companies and agents can work to delight customers in the future. Mike says, sounds interesting. How can I learn more? Aren't you going to be in my area in August when you come down to Savannah? Well, yes, I'll be in Savannah in August. I'll send you some information on it. Great, send me some information and let's chat next week. Super, I'm sure he'll help you, blah, blah, blah. Then, a second person, me too, send me a description. So my breakfast update was I'm getting ready to do something helpful for a client. That's all I said. Just like you could say every day. Getting ready to do something helpful with my buyers or my sellers or whatever. And it turned into 2 other people in my sphere of influence saying, but how can you help me too? Now I didn't have to say, I have a new seminar, come buy it. I didn't say I have a new DVD, please purchase it. I simply say, I'm doing something helpful today. And people know what I do, just like people know what you do. So for branding, it doesn't have to be that complex. It simply has to be a process of telling people what you're doing in a way that inspires them to want to be part of it and to want to see that message on a regular basis. especially for customers we're trying to keep in contact with for a long, long time. You could ask them questions. Hey, what are you reading? And people can respond. One of the things you'll learn, especially when it comes to questions, is that you have to ask things that people are capable of answering. Remember the toilet tree that I put up there, the toilet paper tree? All I basically said was like or not like. And everyone's capable of answering that. Whereas if I put a status up there that said, we think the market is changing, what do you think? Well, they don't know what to think because they're not in the market right now. So it's a hard thing for people to answer. So I always look for things that people can answer. Another quick example, since a lot of our clients obviously are real estate professionals, I like to find fun houses and ask them how they would market them or how they would promote them. So let me just get this to scroll a little bit for us. I found this interesting little house the other day. It's truly a little house the other day. And I said, you know what, because we do this a lot. We show cute houses and say, how would you market it? Now I asked for a 2-word headline. I wasn't going to give them too much work. 36 people thought the little house was good enough to share. 55 people liked it. 327 people. 327 people took time out of their day to give me a marketing line for a house I'm not even selling. Sorry, those were the eggs. But do I care that I'm selling it or not? No, I just care that they're thinking of me. It's a competition for me. Not too long ago, I banned paprika from the family of spices. Now that seems extraordinarily silly, except that 46 people commented on it, 12 of whom were aggressively defending paprika. Really? But I don't make the rules as long as they're talking about me. Now, can you use this obviously for listings and photos of listings? Sure you can, as long as there's a story around it. So don't just press the put, this is for sale. Instead, use some interesting photo from your listing and say, what do you think? How cool is this kitchen? Would you love this living room? Do you think this view is beautiful? They don't need to know it's for sale. They need to know that they can have input on it, and then you can go for the jugular. So the idea is to use the visual storytelling piece to do this. I'll show you a quick example. I think I put it over here. We have a Swiss client, VTAG Consulting, and VTAG listed not too long ago George Harrison's villa, which is, just to be clear, 6,500 square meters, which is, a bit big. And so, you know, they could go on their Facebook page and say, we've listed George Harrison's spectacular villa, but they only had 220 friends. So if any of those 220 were going to buy it, they would have known, because they're their friends. So instead, what they did was Ralph posted that they had this, and he specifically posted it to his friend Johnny Lawrence. John is from Aspen, Colorado. And or Greenwood Village, I guess. And John in Aspen has clients capable, they have the wherewithal to do this. And interestingly enough, what happened was then, of course, John shared it with his peeps, saying, my friends in Switzerland just did this. Anyone interested? And that is, of course, how the deal was actually done. So what happened was a Swiss company posted an interesting little superb former villa story where people could learn about the spectacular house, which caught the attention of another broker who had a client who is able to buy it. All of this is sphere of influence unfolding in branding. So branding is very, very easy. It allows people to simply engage with you on a level that's calm and relaxing and not always about now is the time to write a check. And I think that that's easy for us now because that gives us a competitive advantage that other companies don't have. What makes you special is something that other companies can't copy. They can say, well, we have tablets too, and we have a website too, and we have forms online too, but they don't have you. And that's the coolest thing about branding through social media, is you get to talk about you. What are you doing? What is special about you? How do you engage the community? What do you find interesting? What's quirky about you? What's your sense of humor? Social branding is about leveraging the uniqueness of yourself, not necessarily just copying the marketplace. So for example, what do? I travel the world and I get to go to really cool places. And I get to explore and express those places. So again, last night I was able to come to New York in time to see a basketball game. And so I basically put a picture on there of the basketball game. Thank you very much. And Bob, thank you very much for the opportunity to go there. And it's not even a good photo. It's a bad photo. But at the end of the day, it included, hello? Sorry about that. It included an opportunity, and just pop that back open, for my friends to experience the game with me. Now, I kind of feel like I owe Bob a referral fee because as a result of saying that I was there, a city broker contacted me and said, hey, I didn't, yeah, surprise my wife, I know, I'll be home later. A city broker contacted me and said, hey, I didn't know you were going to be in town. When are you coming back? Because we could use some advice as well. So what got me yet another lead? It was simply an opportunity to say where I was and what was going on. I didn't have to say I have a course. I didn't have to say I have something you could buy. Okay, last quick thought on this. Branding and social is also an opportunity just to have crazy fun. And I know I already showed you that, but when you start figuring out what you're great at, what makes you tick, if I were to pretend that for a week I was going to take away all of your listings, and I was going to take away all of your tools, and only give you the ability to tell others why you're cool to work with, you'll start to discover what you need to say in social media. So why am I cool to work with? Well, because people get an opportunity to follow me around. I taught in Vienna not too long ago, and people didn't care what I was teaching. They were just like, hey, show us some pictures from Vienna. We're so interested in the fact that you get to travel around. In fact, people have their own comments about Vienna, but I gave them an opportunity to engage with me. And no matter where I go, there's a picture of something that I share. So for example, I was recently on the road. I took some other pictures that I shared. I can't remember where that was. I wonder why, right? That was a tough spot. I was supposed to meet someone on the corner there. Apparently they do not like soccer players. Soccer going to be played in the archery range. And then, of course, I went to the gym in one of the hotels I was at, and this sign was on the wall. It always takes a few minutes for that one to go through the crowd. What did we just learn? Ladies and gentlemen, if the hardest thing you have to do in making someone's day and reminding them that you're still around is to make them laugh, we're in a really good job. We're in a really good job. If you could share something that just makes someone smile or go, or get inspired or have a moment to just say, humor connected with Ferrara, that's a good thing. You know, there's a lot of technical speakers out there in the speaking business. But one of the reasons that I continue to build my business is people say, well, he's not just good at teaching us the tools, he's kind of funny. Well, I can't then go back to my blog and just start writing down 7 things to do with a computer. I have to be funny. And I have to be able to do it in ways that aren't just about technology, but that people send me a note after saying, you made my day. You can't believe I was so bummed out this morning, or I was in the dumps, or etc. And I live for those moments because I'm doing my job. Now, last but not least, if you're doing your job well, with being yourself and contributing that to your sphere of influence, and just what I'll just call hanging out with your peeps, if you're doing that well, they're going to want to share you. Your peeps want to see you successful. Your friends and family want to see you successful. Your past clients liked working with you. They want to see their friends work with you as opposed to someone that might not be so successful for them. That's the moment of truth in social branding. So I'm glad that people liked things, and I'm glad that they even commented on them, but the money is made if I can get them to introduce me to their sphere of influence so I can meet a new friend. And that new friend has the ability to perhaps need my services during the time that my existing friend doesn't. So let me show you some quick examples of this. I already talked about VTAG. Here's one on Twitter. I'm just going to go over to Twitter for a second. So first of all, Twitter is what we call a micro-blogging environment. Basically one-liners. So it's the ultimate sort of Ed Sullivan tool, if you will. It's a one-liner tool that allows you to quickly say, check this out, look at that, watch this video, see this article, that was funny, don't like that, whatever it is. And so as you use Twitter, most of it is pointing. Look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. And people point at all sorts of things. Look at this news headline. Look at this person, this celebrity. And from time to time they say, look at this article. Or someone like Monica. Monica says, look at this guy. So who's Monica Sells and why do you care? Monica used to be a real estate agent with EWM Realtors down in Florida. Monica was an agent for a couple of years and then decided to pursue her passion of beauty products. So you would think, well, my connection with Monica would disappear, right? Because as you can tell, I really don't use a lot of beauty products. But interestingly enough, she enjoyed one of our sessions and stayed connected. Well, one day, Monica now, the hair extension lady, has decided to tweet out that I had some good ideas, that I was a smart guy in some way. Might want to tune in and check out his stuff, she said. Now, why do I care that a person no longer in real estate is possibly saying that? Well, on the best day ever on Twitter, I have about 3,000 friends. 3,000 connections. Monica, on the other hand, has 8,721 followers, which tells me I may want to go in the hair extension business on the side. But what she's done for me is a huge kindness. She introduced me to 8,721 people. Now I know what the wheels are saying in the back of your head. Who cares, Matt? You don't sell hair extension or beauty products. However, one of Monica's clients happens to be the Director of Professional Development for Shiseido Makeups. They happen to be in Manhattan. They happened to see this post from Monica, which went to a program that I have called Great Growth, that they said, hey Monica, tell us more about this guy, which led to a phone call, which led to me teaching their keynote session last year, and their keynote session this fall. Last year we were in Manhattan, and this fall we will be in Tokyo. So all of a sudden I'm doing 2 gigs on 2 halves of the planet from a lady who's no longer in my direct marketing database, right? I wouldn't have her in my database, but I've just got her in my sphere, who was able to say a nice thing about me at the right place at the right time that led to real money and real opportunity to do some good. So don't worry that it's not an exact science. You won't use social media to get an immediate buyer who will buy an immediate listing today. It might happen, but mostly you'll get social media to get sphere of influence going. And as we all know, in successful real estate, it is a sphere of influence business. So I want to stop here for a second and just talk about branding, building your voice, cultivating an experience which is built around an emotion that's related to you, and getting people to react to it. Questions, comments, thoughts, ideas. Let me just step out from behind here for a second. What do you think of the idea so far?
Great. I love it.
Pretty good?
Yes, I think from my own perspective, because we're trying to do this for the company, and I can't speak for everybody in the audience, but for me, it's still a very challenging thing to figure out how to use.
Sure.
Effectively.
Right.
I mean, we have a Facebook page in the company. I have a Facebook page. We've got Twitter. We've got LinkedIn, and all of these things, but I don't know that we're using them effectively. 2 of our terrific salespeople who are sitting right there, those 2 ladies, just did an event in another community where they wanted to reach young couples that have families that are growing and want to move out into the suburbs. And they did it all on Facebook, and they got people to show up at this cafe, and they did it that way. When I saw their Facebook page, I shared it and liked it and so forth, and I know that's how they're doing it. So we're sort of touching on the edge of this, but most of us don't really know how to use it effectively, and I think we all just are dying to tell us how to do it, how to create our voice.
Lesson 1 is be yourself. Just be you. Don't just be the marketing you. Be all about you. So I'm the guy, the humorous kind of weird guy, so I put the humorous kind of weird pictures on there. But whatever you're into, if you're doing something in the community, if you're into, think of a hobby or something you're passionate about, and leverage that in such a way that you're able to do something that's totally unique, because your hobby is not like anyone else's hobby. And it will continue to distinguish you from everyone else's marketing. Here's another quick example. I travel everywhere with my camera. my camera is my hobby. If I'm going to go to 60 cities a year, if I'm going to be on the road that much, I take a lot of photos. And over again, as I already showed you with the Vienna clip, as I take photos of interesting places, I'm just waiting for the screen to refresh, as I take photos of interesting places, what happens is that I will continue to find, let me just see if I can find a photo that I recently added, I continue to find new business. So as you know, it snowed in Boston not too long ago, and well, snow is kind of a nice way of putting it. But so as I went out to take a look at the snow, I basically was able to go out and take pictures of the snow. And as I went out and took some pictures of the snow in different places, and you know, they're just things that I find personally interesting with my camera, I would post pictures. And a lot of these pictures are continuously leading me to sales. Because I posted, I can't quickly find the picture I might show you from this conversation, but I posted a picture of Phelps Academy. I live near Phelps Academy. And what happened was, someone said, "Is that Phelps Academy?" And I said, "Yes." And I said, "Oh, I graduated there." I said, "Oh gosh, so did I." And she said, "Well, I graduated in '62. When did you?" I said, "Not '62. And then she said, "Oh, by the way, we're having a company program and they haven't picked a speaker yet. Would you come down and speak for us?" So what led to the lead? It led to something we had in common, a school. Well, how do you leverage your high school? How do you leverage your college? How do you leverage your career involvement in other avenues? That's what social media allows me to do. The branding portion of social media allows me to be uniquely me. And no other person can be me, and no other person can be you. But when if you go back and ask your clients why they like working with you, it's not just about your professionalism and your systems and tools, it's also because of you. And I think that's critical. Look at my Facebook page. It doesn't have a picture of me teaching. It has a picture of the snow. It doesn't have an airbrushed pic. My high school photo is not on there, for example. All of the photos of me are silly. This is a picture of me taking a picture of me in the mirror. And you know, sometimes I could be a building, sometimes I could be a historical character, sometimes there's a picture of me at the beach taking a picture of a sunset. But at the end of the day, what I've discovered is the more I'm just me, the more people want to hang out with me every day, and when they need me for something professional, at least I'm top of mind. And that's something that we can easily combat in a non-commoditizable way. There is no way any other agent or company can be you. Yes, please.
Matt, if it's a second career you're getting into and you have a social media presence from your previous career,
Yes.
or your continuing career,
Yes.
Any thoughts on how to introduce a new career into that?
Well, first of all, let people celebrate your new career. This is one of the most amazing things about social media. It's an extremely supportive activity. Most people, when we look at the data, prefer to see positive things in social. And so they don't need people to always go out there and say negative stuff. Now, sometimes you can say negative stuff with an ironic twist. It's kind of fun. But at the end of the day, people want to celebrate successes. They like to say happy birthday. They like to, you know, it's so easy to say positive things to people. So if you're engaging in a new career or just an extension of what you've always done, that's a great opportunity for you guys to say, hey folks, I am on a new journey. I am on a new venture. I could use your help. Please help me in any way, or whatever. They just want to say, good for you, good luck, and you know what? They're top of mind. Now, can we do this with an email? Yes, we can. And can we do this in a direct mail? Yes, we can. But we also should add in this piece as well. Plus, we flip it around. If you already have 100 friends, or 200 friends, or 300 friends, you can see if any of them need you today. This is the Facebook news stream. And notice what people post. A cute little cartoon. They post something about the world's largest private yacht. They post an old photo. They post an inspiring quote from something. And what I'm doing in this case is I'm listening to the thoughts of my sphere of influence. And that's what makes this so easy, because remember I asked you how many of you called three past clients today? Check this out. I have 3,000 past clients and friends that I've all met here, and I'm going to now catch up with 5 of them very quickly. Ready? I'm going to go to the first one and say like, and then go to the next one. And then go down to Stacy and say like, and then go to the next one. Then I'm going to say like, and go to the next one. And then I'm going to go down here to Sam and say like, and go to the next one. And the truth is, I don't even know if I like these things. But you know what I like? I like these people. And all you have to do once a day is to say, I'm thinking of you, I'm thinking of you, I'm thinking of you. How special would it have been if someone you give business to had sent you a note today or left you a voicemail? My auto dealer leaves a singing birthday voicemail on my voicemail. I personally don't like that, but I am very happy that they have made an effort to say, we got your money, but we still care about you, so you'll come back again. That's what I'm after. And the same thing they do for me is the same thing you can do for them. And what do? You just go to your peeps and just say, I like you, I like you, I like you, I like you. Now, obviously, be circumspect. If somebody puts something on that's quite mean, you don't want to accidentally like it. And if you get really, really ambitious, you might even write a comment. But Facebook is so easy. In the upper right-hand corner every day, it'll tell you everybody's birthday. Now, who are those people? They're my peeps. I'm only connected to my peeps. I don't need new peeps. They'll introduce me to new peeps. So Steve, Reese, and 2 others are peeps. And what do I do here? I click on Steve's name, and as soon as this pops up, I simply type in, happy birthday. Happy birthday. Look, I'm sending a birthday card. But of course, because I'm lazy, I copy it so that I can then go to the next one and paste it. And then I just do copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. I've done 3 birthdays in 3 seconds, and it looks like I care. So at the end of the day, what's happened? What's happened is my ability to, and I'll have to log in here in a second, obviously. We'll come back to that. My ability to use a personal connection to stay in contact without having to say, there's something else to buy. There was an orange pad. Oh, it's behind me. So, just need to log back in. Other questions while I type distractedly on the screen here for a second. Other questions, please. Just shout them out, because I won't be able to, yes?
I'm just wondering what your thoughts are. I'm always worried about salespeople when they're posting very political ideas.
Sure.
And
So what about very political ideas or something like that? Well, here's what I do. I use the same personal filtration that I use in real life. So when I see a friend at a cocktail party that we don't have the same politics, guess what I do? I talk about sports. That's all. I use my own personal filtration system. Nothing on social media is ripped out of your head. You have to put it there. So if you feel like something you're posting would do more to alienate people than to encourage them to support you, skip it. As my wife likes to say, use your inner voice, honey. And so what I want you to do is simply give yourself an opportunity to self-control. And what I think that we often do is we mistake social media as a pulpit, which it doesn't have to be. Social media is awesome. Social media is a card table, not a pulpit. And I'd never go play cards with my friends and berate them all, because I wouldn't have any friends left, right, if that were the case. Other questions before we move on here? We'll come back to that in a second. Other questions? Yes, please. How do we know when we have to put a disclosure on what we're saying? I'm not a lawyer, and I didn't stay the Holiday Inn Express last night, so I'm not sure that there's an answer to that. Did you get it? No, I did not get it. Can you just confirm that that's the right username and password? Okay, I'll try again in a second. So I don't know the answer to that, but if most of the things you're saying are things you would simply say at a coffee shop with someone or on the telephone with them, you don't say like a little voice, not intended to solicit after every conversation. Just talk about you. Just be talking about things that don't require a conversation. 99.9% of the time, you never have to post anything about a listing. Right? Because 99.9% of the time, you're just going to talk to people like people. They know how to find your listings. They go to your website, they love your website, they know that they can just pick up the phone and say, find me something. But when you're engaging with them in a social experience, there's no disclosure required. You need to think about that. Yes, sir?
Hey, Matt, on LinkedIn versus Facebook. Facebook is very social, LinkedIn is all like specific.
Yeah.
How would your demeanor be when you put comments in LinkedIn versus Facebook?
So what's the difference between LinkedIn and Facebook? So here's the first thing you need to understand. Different social networks have, do you want to try while we're doing here? Sure, thank you. That's awesome. Different social networks have different norms, cultural norms. Just like what I would say at the golf club, I might say differently at the meeting of the bar, if I was a lawyer or something like that. And so the Facebook environment is very personal. People want to hang out with the personal before the professional. LinkedIn is 100% professional. Show up in the tie, formal suit, keep it buttoned down, and there's very little discussion about your trip to Hawaii, no display of your tattoos. It's very much formal networking. However, most people only visit LinkedIn once a month. So it's kind of like, thank you, it's kind of like your once a month formal club, but every day you get to hang out with your gang, your peeps, your friends in that sense in Facebook. So I use LinkedIn. I mostly use it because it's a great opportunity to see people moving. If they're moving jobs, which is what LinkedIn is all about, looking for jobs, they're often moving houses. So it's a great space for that. I also use it to network with other professionals in my industry, just to learn from them. But I don't go on there and contribute personal things in that space. Sure, good question. Other question in the back, please.
I have a two-part question.
Two-parter, okay.
Do you have a business page, and how would you treat them differently from the actual Facebook page versus your business page?
The question is, do I have a business page, and do I treat them differently than an actual personal page? Well, the short answer is, I do, but you may not. Let me explain. I have a Facebook personal page. There's me with my camera and a picture of the snow. I also have a business page. It happens to bear the name Matthew Ferrara and Company because I own the company. However, there are other trainers who work for us, and they need a landing space for their professional peeps, where we share things that anybody could engage sharing in. Now, this is like your company's Facebook page, but if I were just a sales agent and not sort of the owner of my organization, I would just have my personal page. Because my personal page is connected to my personal peeps, which is the largest source of my business, and I want to hang out with them personally so that I can continue to maintain my trust. Now, if you already have a business page, and the reason that many of us have them is because years ago when Facebook started, we didn't know what the best practice was, so we just made them, then you probably have to keep it going. But if you're new to Facebook, just have a personal page and collect everybody on the personal page, and then just say things appropriate for the right audiences. Now, I will show you a tool here in a second that allows you to target different messages to different groups of your personal friends without having to have two pages. You only need one page as an agent. And it makes life easier for you to just social network on your phone when you're on the go. So as an agent, I probably wouldn't do a business page. I would do a personal page so that people can get to personally know and enjoy me. And from there, you certainly could experiment with the business page. There's no hard and fast rule. I just think that most of us don't want to manage 2 pages or 4 accounts or things like that.
Don't the Facebook terms of service supposedly require it?
The Facebook terms of service say that you cannot sell things on your personal page. However, none of you sell anything on your personal page in the way that Facebook terms of service actually apply. So, for example, I sell a DVD. You could buy the DVD with a click. I can't put that on my personal page. If a click can order it, that's e-commerce, and that doesn't work. So unless your listings are only a click away from purchase, you would need it which we wish they are someday, which is good, but for now you're fine. For now you can go on there and say, hey, I'm Realtor of the Year, or I got a great award, or I'm working hard as a new real estate professional, and you can say that on your personal page just like you would say that to friends at lunch. So it's okay. It's a good question, though.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about over-separating that. Okay, let's talk about other questions. I don't want to miss anyone. Did I miss any end? No, okay. So let's talk a little bit more about how you break this down in Facebook specifically. And why am I going to show you a lot of Facebook? Well, one of the reasons is Facebook, in my mind, is the ultimate prospecting database. So it's great to build our brand and our presence and stay in contact with people, but at the end of the day, you got to get some sales. So how do we do that? Well, here's a couple of things that I want to just draw out. First of all, I think that social media is the new CRM. How many people know what CRM means? Just so that I don't talk in acronyms here. Customer Relationship Management. Let's just call it the new database. How many people have a database? How many people have a database? How many people have heard of a database? Okay. How many people are still struggling to get their database organized? I've been struggling to get my database organized for 22 years. You know what I did last year? I gave up. I gave up organizing my database because what I found was that every time I built my database, I had a nice, neat list of people that I now professionally ignored. Because I don't check my database every day. What do I check? My email and my task list. So I'm checking people who immediately need my help. So here's a thought. What if social media were your new database? Now, not entirely. I don't want you to get ahead of yourself. But what if, to some degree, it was your prospecting database? See, I call social media the soy sauce on the plate of sushi. But soy is spelled S-O-I, meaning sphere of influence. This is the way in which I hang with my prospects every day. And the best thing about it is it's perfectly aligned to real estate needs. This is a chart from the National Association of Realtors' annual profile of buyers and sellers. How many people have seen the annual profile of buyers and sellers from NAI? Okay, how many people have heard of that profile, by the way? How many people have heard of the National Association of Realtors? Just checking. So it's $15. $15, and it's 200 pages of interview with buyers and sellers and FSBOs. And they say, what did you do, and how did you do it, and who did you want it from? And this is the coolest chart. You want to know something funny? This chart hasn't changed in 20 years. The technology will come and go and evolve and grow, and that's wonderful. But at the end of the day, where does real estate come from? Where do sellers find their agents, and where do buyers find their agents? They find them through referrals of friends, family, neighbor, or working with the same agent they worked with the last time. That's the money, folks. In real estate, nationally, 64% of the business comes from your peeps. But I bet if you talk amongst yourselves, especially amongst high-performing individuals and companies, I bet those numbers are even higher. I know agents all over the world who are able to just continue to leverage their sphere of influence. It drives down costs. It allows them to focus their time on things that work well. And when you think about some of the things that you're doing to keep finding your business, it's going to be at least 64 cents out of every dollar, 64 minutes out of every hour. You'll get that. I'm asking you to hang with your peeps. But how would you do that? If you're not emailing 3 a day, or phone calling 3 a day, or writing a handwritten note to 3 a day, well, of course, that's here. Now, I'm going to just show you a couple of examples here. Let me go back for a second. Has anyone who's using social media already had a sphere of influence-driven success? An old friend, a family member, past client that they weren't keeping up with who became a listing or a sale. Anyone here have that experience already? So it's already happening organically, right? Could you share with us which one you had? Anyone want to share who it was? Not specifically, but was it an old friend, a college friend? Anyone want to tell us their story? Yes?
I had a friend from high school who contacted me to sell another house.
Okay, so you had a friend from high school who contacted you. Do you happen to know, was that friend in your other database? Was he or she like in your normal cold calling database or your mailing Right, so you had someone who wasn't in your normal marketing chain that you caught up with in social. And how you doing? Great, great, great. Can you sell my mother's house? Terrific, right? That's all we're seeing. But it's a huge source because they already intuitively trusted you. So we asked people in our sphere of influence if that ever happened to them, and we see it all the time. We see, I found former classmates, I got a rental. This is one of my favorites down here from Brandy. One of my friends called me. They're obviously someone I knew but was not talking to on a regular basis. Nor did I have any idea that they were looking for a different home. We see this all the time. In fact, what really worries me is we see the reverse. Do you ever bump into someone at, let me make it up. Bump into someone at the supermarket that you sold their home to years ago. Oh, how are things going? Great, well, cool. Hey, so what's new? Well, Bob's retiring. Oh, he's retiring, that's terrific. You know, last time we talked, 9 years ago, you said that when Bob was going to retire, you guys might want to move to some warmer climate. Yeah, we're doing that. Great, you want me to come over and talk about selling your house? Oh, sorry, we already listed with someone else. How did that happen? And you're reaching for the frozen fish at this point, right? Like an axe. You're thinking, oh my God, how did that happen? Well, it happened because maybe you didn't call 3 people a day. Or maybe you couldn't send them your magnet this year. Or maybe the magnet won't stick to their stainless steel refrigerator anymore, right? But when we get too busy that the turkeys don't go out the door at Thanksgiving anymore, we lose opportunities from our own peeps. We didn't lose that deal to someone else. We lost that deal to ourselves. That's what happens in real estate. We get so busy that we forget to actually do the business. And the business is through our peeps. The business is through friends of our sons and daughters. I'm a friend of, Pat tells me she's a friend of her son's who lives in another state, and all they're talking about is fun and cooking and kids. Everything we all can talk about. And she asked me for some real estate advice, and I placed a referral through CRS, and I got a check from someone who's a friend of my son's in another state I'm not even licensed in. Ladies and gentlemen, it's easy. That money is all there if you just hang more with your peeps every day. So how do we actually do that? And address one of the questions that was already asked, which is if I am going to use this as a prospecting database, how do I keep the message carefully managed? There are some things I want some people to see, and there are some things I don't want some people to see. Well, I want to introduce you into the absolute best feature of Facebook for purposes of marketing. And it is a functionality called lists. Now, Facebook uses the word lists. It's kind of a technical word. I like to just use the term audience. We all have different audiences within our lives. And so what we want to do is make sure that the right message goes to the right audience at the right time. So here I am back on my page. When I post something, I have a chance, we're going to do that again, huh? Of course something's not right here. When I post something on Facebook, I have a chance to choose the audience in which something appears. Now, I'm going to explain how to do this in just a second. First of all, there are some audiences that Facebook makes automatically for us. So for example, close friends, acquaintances, family, and whatever school that you went to are auto audiences in Facebook. So if I make a friend with someone I went to school with, it automatically puts a connection there. If a new friend tries to connect with me, I can put them in acquaintances if I don't really know them that well or we're just catching up. Or I can put them in close friends if it's someone I want to see more of and hear more of. But I also can make my own audience lists. So I create one called seminar attendees. Anyone from here who becomes my friend later, my personal friend later, I can put you in the group seminar attendee, or broker, or business friend, or influencer, or whatever I want to create. So you can actually make additional lists in the system. Let me show you how, and then let me show you why. And the reason you want to do this is the same reason that you do things in your database to different audiences. So in your database, you probably have groups like past clients, you probably have groups like current clients, you probably have farm, etc. And as you put each one of those groups together, you have the opportunity to send different messages to different ones. Well, it's actually not much different in social media. It is a little different, though, if you're not logged in. So you will, of course, give me 1 second to do this. Oops. That's okay. In about 3 seconds, what I'm going to just do is actually, you know what? I'm going to do this right now. Hang on, folks. I'm just going to use my phone. It's a whole lot easier. So, and then we won't have this challenge. By the way, how many of you have a smartphone again, just to be sure? Jot this down, please. Make sure that you go back sometime in the next couple of days and learn how to use the hotspot function of your smartphone. What I mean by that is, when I turn my smartphone into a hotspot, how many people have done this already, by the way? Oh, so more people have done this than Facebook, which is awesome. When I put my phone into a hotspot, it becomes an internet channel. Now, be careful, obviously, because this can drive up your data costs, but most of us have big data plans that we probably won't consume anyways, so it's not the end of the universe. But please make sure you know how to do it so that you can pop back on wherever you happen to go. Now let's talk about using the audience lists. From time to time, not only will you make friends, but people will want to be your friends as well. So funny that. Look at some people who want to be my friends. Right? Ah, look at that. All these people want to be my friends, which is nice. Now I'm going to just blow this screen up a little bigger so you can see them all. Here we go. And so here are some people who want to be my friends. In fact, 1,144 people feel like being my friend now. And that's nice, you know. So here's the first thing you need to know. You don't have to be friends with everyone. You could just say, delete request. They don't get a note that says, Matt does not want to be your friend. It just disappears into space and nobody knows the difference. But mostly you're going to go in here and you're going to decide to be friends. Now, how do I decide to be friends? First of all, I look to see if we have people in common. So Anna, for example, we have 33 people in common, 12 people in common with Carol, 11 here. Down here, just one person in common with Lisa. However, it turns out that I happen to know that person, so I might do it. Let me tell you what I'm never friends with. I am not friends with signs. Please don't be a sign. Now, if you want to be a Red Sox sign, that's cool, but no, I'm just kidding. At the end of the day,